All right, so we're going to talk about domain and range. We need to remember that domain are your x values and your range are your y values. So in this question, when asked what is the domain of this function, is asking you what x values are a part of this graph. And if I look, so how far left and how far right does this graph go? Well, if you look up here, we've got these arrows, which means this graph is going to continue to go left and left and left and left forever and ever and ever. And then I look here and it's going to go right and right and right and right forever and ever and ever and ever. So when I look at these options, well, it's going left forever and right forever. If it's going in both directions forever and ever, that means all real numbers are your domain. Every single number is your domain. Now this one asks you about your range. So range are your y values. So in this one, I need to look at how far down to how far up this graph will go. So it's not going to be all real numbers this time because look, it's not going down forever. This graph does not go down forever. It starts here at this point right here and it goes up forever, but it doesn't go down forever. So let's look at our options and see which one makes the most sense. Y is greater than or equal to 4. Well, if that was true, your graph would start here at 4 and go up forever. But look, there's values underneath the 4, so that one doesn't make sense either. That leaves me with, it has to be one of the bottom two, which makes sense in either case because we're at 0 and things are above it. The difference here is your signs. One has just greater than, and one is greater than or equal to. So the question is, can you be at exactly 0? And if you look at your graph, well, yes, you can. You can be at exactly 0. So greater than or equal to 0 is the one that makes more sense. We'll come back and look at domain again. Remember, domain is x. So how far left does this graph go? And how far right does this graph go? This one says that x has to be less than or equal to 1. If that was true, we'd be looking just at this part of the graph. But that's not true because we have this portion over here. X is less than or equal to 0. Well, kind of same issue that we had before. That one just starts there at 0 and looks at everything to the left. But what about the things to the right? So neither one of those makes sense. All real numbers. All real numbers means it goes forever to the left and forever to the right. Is this graph going to go left forever and right forever? Yes, it is. So your domain is once again all real numbers. Okay, this asks you about both the domain and the range. So you maybe have caught on that the domain, look, your graph is going left forever and right forever. So your domain shouldn't be one of these that restricts your domain. Your domain has to be all real numbers all the time. Every single question about domain is all real numbers. So now we need to look at the range. And if we look, they're the same numbers. The difference is just the inequality signs again. We've talked about that. Can it be equal to 0? Well, yes, it can. Right there, there's a value at 0. So we should pick that third one. Last one, domain and range. Domain has to be all real numbers. Goes left forever and it goes right forever. Your range, this time there's a difference between the values. So if we come back up here, is it 8 or is it 0? Well, do we start at y being 0? Or do we start at y being 8? We start at 8, which means your answer should be